Hi, Mike Kennedy with you. I've been carrying around this emergency blanket, heat shield, heat sheets. This is from Survive Outdoors Longer. Okay, so this was like I think at the time it was like a $5 or $7 product. Had it for a while. So it supposedly reflects 90% of your body heat. It's moisture proof. And new rapid deployment fold. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, I was at this sporting event with my wife, and you know, Maine's so crazy. You don't know what the weather's going to be. You can go out in your car and it changes completely when you get there. And it was kind of cold. So my wife had the coat and I didn't. And I thought to myself, hey, wait a second. I've been carrying around this thing forever. Let's try this. Well, and right now, it's kind of a nasty wind right now. It isn't that cold if you look at the temperature, but with the wind, you have the wind chill. And weather like this, when you have weather around 50 degrees and it gets wet, that's when more people get in trouble with hypothermia. So the idea with this is you can wrap this around you and it retains a bunch of your body heat, but it's kind of like, oh yeah, sure. You know, it's not big enough to really wrap yourself in. So at least if it's windy, you'll get wind coming, you know, it doesn't have much for weight, wind coming up, you know, so you'd have to kind of huddle into this and try to wrap it around you the best you could, you know, and you might want to do your head. I don't know if you could even wrap it around this way, because this way, I don't know if it would, well, let's just do it simpler. I'll just take from, we've got 54 by 84. I'm thinking it should be at least 84 both ways. You can see, I'll get out far enough so you can see how large it is. And so these aren't really great. You see so many reviews with people with these. They have something like this that's made in a tent configuration. In other words, it's a sheet, a wider sheet that's melted together with its ends, so it's like a tube. Well, you take the tube, you have, you know, something to use as a ridge line, and then you have this shelter you just put up immediately. But if you go to anyone that's used one of those in an emergency or simulated emergency situation, they're pretty bad. They don't really do that much. And see, the problem is, these were invented by NASA, I believe. That's why they call them space blanket at one time. And they're really good at one thing, reflecting heat. Once you touch it to an object, it's no longer reflecting heat, it's conducting heat. So this is kind of like, I don't know, with this one, a little more expensive, but the cheaper ones just have some type of metallic particles sprayed on them. So after you use them a couple times, the coating will start to come off. I don't know about this one. Maybe they've got it on a little better. It's nice that this is a bright orange. But so if you can use this just to reflect body heat without it being touched to you, it might do better. But you can see how problematic that is, because, you know, you'd have to build a shelter 1 inch larger than you are all the way around or something. So it's definitely like, yeah, this is definitely way better than nothing, but this isn't that great. The best use I've seen for this is the super shelter. So I don't know if Morse Kahansky invented that, but he's the one certainly that popularized it. So the idea is you have a back wall of the shelter, and on that back wall, this tarp is attached, so it's flat, okay? Not flowing in the wind like this. But so it's flat here, going like this, and you've got a shelter around it with a big opening. And what you have for that to work is you have a piece of plastic, transparent plastic. And so what happens then, if you build a fire on the outside of the super shelter, what happens is the heat radiates in. If it goes by you, it gets trapped, reflected by this, and actually can warm the shelter up quite significantly. You still got to go inside the fire once in a while and everything, but it can be a really effective use for this. You could use this to try to prevent yourself from getting wet. I'm sure too you could, these tear really easy, so you don't want to, once you poke it with something, you're going to have a big problem. But you could carry water with this. You would use the orange side in, because like I say, some of this material comes off on, especially the more inexpensive blankets, quite easily. I know I was without a refrigerator for like 2 weeks. Ours died and we were looking for something and trying to find a deal and all those things. This was years ago. And so I noticed that ice in the cooler wasn't lasting that long. It wasn't a great cooler. So I thought, gee, and I had one of those really cheap, like dollar size ones. And I put that in, silver side in. And so I put that block of ice in and the food and then wrapped it up. Then shut the ice cooler. And it did a remarkably better job. So it really worked for that. It's going to work for repelling water, for sure. And one of the other things reminds me as we hear an airplane go overhead. I don't know if you hear it, I hear it, but this would really be good to signal. In other words, if you tie this to a stick, or even as a, you could tie it in 2 places as a flag, and you could wave this, and it would be seen quite well. You'd have both the, one time you'd be seeing the silver side, the next time you'd be seeing the orange side. So it would make it very visible. This woman hiker was in a situation where she had to be rescued. She had one of the Garmin devices, and she learned that one of the biggest problems is that, they send a helicopter for you, right? Well, guess what? They don't know exactly where you are. Your GPS isn't like, you might look at it and think, oh yeah, it is great. It's showing where I am. But if you look at some of them, they'll tell you what the likely error is. And it could be as much as, often I see it being like 60 to 250 feet. And so that's quite a range. So the rescue helicopter has to find you, then it has to find a place where it can land. This is, in a case of using a helicopter. But the person just remarked they wish they had thought of this idea of using this blanket. That this would make an excellent signaling device. So, and then the other thing is, you can never wrap them back up and get them in the bag they're in, because once you fold them with all these wrinkles, you get air pockets, and it virtually becomes impossible. I wonder if you could vacuum pack them. That might be something to try. But so yeah, you definitely want to have one of these. But my goodness, I hope it isn't the only thing you have, because if it's the only thing you have, you're going to be cold. And it's something no one ever mentions, but this could be used for the opposite purpose. If you're stuck in a place where it's all sun and it's hot and you have no shade, you'd put the silver side out and reflect that heat away from you. Probably not want to have it just wrapped around you, because because it's a moisture barrier, it's going to trap all that moisture, and you're gonna sooner or later be kind of wet. So, and then like in a desert situation, sometimes the temperature goes way down at night, and that would be a big problem. But so you'd hopefully be able to figure out a way to set it up somehow with paracord or sticks or whatever you could find to put it over you, but not actually be directly in contact with you or wrapped around you. So, but there we have emergency blankets. I have a feeling this one would last a lot longer than the 99-cent ones that you see so often. And it's like it's a throwaway item. If there's a survival kit, they throw that in. And it's like, like I say, it's better than nothing, but again, better than nothing sometimes isn't a lot. So you'd have to be very careful, and hopefully you're in a situation where you'd only use this for a short period of time, as far as trying to protect yourself from the elements. Because you could be in a situation where, it's rainy, everything's wet, you can't start a fire, you can't do this, can't do that. And having something like this, even if you kind of use it just as a rain hood, if you had it, over your head and then it's covering most of your body, that would keep you a lot drier than not. I've often wondered if you cut it up or made it smaller and put it underneath some coat, but I think, like I say, the contact, when you make contact, you start losing all of the ability for this to radiate heat. It just conducts it. So there we go. Space blanket, survival blanket, foil, whatever. Stay outdoors longer. Tell me what you think. Bye.